Zach, it is time for us to get into our conversation for this morning.
Yeah.
So please get ready to join us on Zoom. The Zoom ID and password will be put on your screen pretty shortly, so you can, share your thoughts with us. But we want you to be properly dressed. We want you to be in a well-lit space, and make sure that the spot in your house or office that you'll be talking from, there's correct connection. We don't want any hitches when you're, giving your submission when you get to join. So yeah, you can see the Zoom ID and password now. Get ready and join us, and let's have a very smooth conversation. And so we have our guests joining us on Zoom, and we are talking on the whole topic of the contributions that religious bodies give when it comes to creating job opportunities for not just church members. I don't even want us to narrow it down to just their members or their, the people who are connected to their bodies. But then
it's a very fundamental question. It's a very fundamental question. Do you think that our imams, our religious bodies, the mosques, the religious bodies, what is the Ahmadiyya group, the Sunnah group, do these groups have a certain responsibility to help provide jobs for their members? Do they have such a responsibility? Should such a responsibility be put on them? All right, should such a responsibility be put on them? Now, it follows comments that were made by Kennedy Agyepong when he visited the church, where he indicated that he want the churches to also consider building factories. The churches should consider building factories. And we are saying, well, that's an interesting call he's making. And we want to take it on a broader scale and look at religious bodies. Do they have a responsibility to build factories? Should they get into the business of building factories? Now, this conversation has also been intensified following what the Church of Pentecost did in Damango. They've built a prison for the inmates in Damango. If you look at the visuals, the president was there. I mean, quite a number of ministers were there in Damango when the facility was being unveiled. It's a really nice facility. And it has got rooms, hostels, it has got a kitchen, it's got a playground, and it's got a vocational center, a center where they offer some vocational training to the inmates. So there's a place where you can learn sewing, you can learn carpentry and all of that. And what you're seeing on your screen is the commissioning of the project. So that's the visuals, and this is from Pentecost Media. It was a really nice facility they put together, and the president was there. It was a really nice day. And if you look at, it's not the first time they're building this. Sometime 2 years ago in 2023, they also built the Agyepong prison. It was a similar setting, similar facility that they built. And some are raising argument that, no, they should rather invest in factories, other things that could provide jobs for the people instead of building prison. But the church says, well, this is an area we also want to invest in to help people who have, been taken out of the society, to offer them a place where they can also rehabilitate properly, because most public prisons are not in the best of shape. Now, now you're starting to see parts of the prison. That's part of the prison. You can see they get opportunity to learn carpentry, some basic electrical works, and so yeah, that's the prison. I said, well, you can see the prison now. Really nice.
Yeah, I can. I really can.
And it looks like an apartment, right?
Yeah, it looks very modern. And unfortunately, Ghana prisons have suffered a lot of significant challenges. Yeah. And we've seen a number of them over time on a social media platform. One of them is this crime check. Yeah. Ghana crime check. Yeah. I don't know if I've got the name right.
Crime check TV.
Crime check TV. Yes. Yeah. And it's always very devastating
it's
when
crowded,
they have to exactly it's overcrowded. Yeah. Overcrowded. So the meals they eat, and all of that. So there are so many challenges. So if you have a body like a Christian body like the Church of Pentecost, putting it upon themselves to build a modern prison facility. It's not necessarily that they are trying to encourage that, but this is just my view. We have the able persons who'll be joining us on Zoom to get into that conversation. we want you to enjoy, you know, what you're seeing at the moment. But we've been joined on Zoom by Sheikh Pastor. He's an international Islamic scholar. Good morning, Sheikh.
Good morning, my dear.
Sheikh Pastor Mohammed, how are you?
I'm doing very, very, very well this morning.
Oh, we thank God. We thank God for your life. Thank God that you've got to join us this morning on this very interesting topic. And I believe that you have a lot to share, most especially the role that the Islamic body or community plays in, you know, this topic, or, you know, when it comes to creating jobs, when it comes to building facilities like this, just to improve the livelihoods of people.
And just to chip this in also, some time back, there was a post that Umaru Sanda, there was, what do you call it? There was some time back in, I think about 2 years ago, Umaru Sanda, the senior broadcast journalist with Omni Media, he wrote a long piece, and Sheikh, maybe this where I would like to start the conversation with you on. He wrote a long piece, Umaru Sanda, he's a Muslim, and he wrote a long piece about some of our Muslim brothers and sisters who, and even sometimes our mothers, and sometimes young, very young ones who find themselves on the streets and are often begging. And he wrote a long piece, and he called on the Muslim, what do you call it, leadership, to try and do something, whether it's through the preaching or through initiatives to reduce the menace of many young Muslims and Muslim mothers and you know, in conditions on the streets that is clearly not very good, especially for the image of the faith. And it's quite a common scene, especially in most of our zongos, etc. You see some of our mothers sometimes on the streets, and they are begging. They've got a little boy begging, and the bigger question we are trying to explore is there something that the religious bodies, that this religious organization can do relative to job creation, so we can reduce some of these incidents in our society? Even not just begging, you find some of these people also engage in some delinquent behaviors, and you're going to ask them, they say, well, I don't have a job, so I'm stranded. Is there a certain responsibility these religious bodies can also take upon themselves, while we are also looking at government to do their parts and the private sector to do their part? Yeah, Sidwa.
So in relation,
right?
in relation to what you just stated, first of all, Sheikh should answer that question, but I want him to also highlight what they, as the Islamic community, make of the begging that you highlighted, most especially when they see majorly their people from their community, their religion, who are mostly on the streets beg. I don't know if they are fully, like, they are truly from the Muslims, or they just dress like it. But then maybe they have a different religious affiliation. But first of all, Sheikh, I want you to address what Islam sees or teaches about this particular thing. Sheikh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yes. So I want you to enlighten us, educate us, first of all, on what the Islamic community teaches about, you know, begging and, you know, in general. This in general. I just want to have your thoughts. Yeah.
You know, as far as Islam is concerned, begging is prohibited.
Wow.
Oh.
It is not allowed to beg unless you've gone through a situation that you think, if you don't get somebody's assistance, it's going to damage your reputation or something like that. You may be running a business, you run a debt, and you need somebody to support your business. So you go to the person and ask the person's assistance. You may have a police case or maybe a court case. You are supposed to pay an amount of money for you to be granted a bail, or maybe provide a surety or something like that. In that instance, when you call for people to come and stand in for you and sign your bail, then it is allowed to beg those people to come to your aid. When you need a scholarship for school, maybe you've gotten admission in one of the universities or even outside the country, and you need somebody to assist you, maybe pay your school fees, or probably buy a ticket for you to travel outside to have a further education, then if you are going in to beg in that instance, Islam allows it. However, myself, I've also written something on Facebook, I think about 2-3 years ago. I saw people on the street, and I was very, very uncomfortable about how people are dressed on the streets as Muslims and they are begging. So I wrote against that one. And you know, most of these people are not actually Ghanaians.
Yeah.
And most of them, that is their work. They've taken the begging as their normal job. And so even if you are going to provide them another job, they wouldn't do it. They feel like begging on the streets, and they use some of this money to build their houses in their hometowns and other things. So majority of those who are begging on the streets of Accra, Kumasi, and other places are not Ghanaians. And if you could remember, the immigration tried to arrest some of them and deport some of them. But unfortunately, they still came back. So you could see that a Ghanaian from the north will be will feel disgraced when he sees his son or daughter, or maybe a child from the north, from a noble home, begging in Accra. So you could see that it is not actually Islam that is teaching them, because if you go to the mosque has a system that if somebody is having any financial challenges, you go and mention it to the imam. The imam investigates your problem and then realizes that you actually need a particular help. Then they come to your aid. There are people who, when they come to the hospital, they are not able to pay their hospital bills. You see people with genuine reasons to beg for money. But there are those who have taken it as their job, their main job. Those people, I was once working, and I saw somebody who usually begs. So I put my hand in my pocket trying to give the person about 20 cedis. And before I got there, another person has reached, and the person, I don't know whether the person was giving him money or the person was requesting for change. The money this guy brought from his pocket and he was giving change to the person before me, I had to keep my 20 cedis back in my pocket,
Sheikh,
because I realized he doesn't need it.
Sheikh, just to follow up on that, you were giving somebody money, 20 cedis, and while you were doing that, you saw another person who, was in need, also begging, and apparently was giving change.
I saw somebody. I saw somebody who has already reached where the beggar is.
Okay.
And the person was giving him money. And he needed change from the money he has given to the beggar. And the money the beggar removed from his pocket. And I realized that he is more richer than me, so I had to put my 20 back in my pocket.
Wow. Wow.
So most of the people have taken it as their job. I was here one early morning, somebody came to me, he needed help, he described his problems, I had to give him money from the little coffers that I have. About 3 days later, he called me and told me that he is actually thankful for what I did for him. He's having some sheep. He will send some for me so that I'll rear them because of the good things I did for him. So I should send him 40 cedis so that he will transport the animals. I sent him 40 cedis. Later he called me and told me the 40 cedis is not enough. He asked me, I sent him another 50 cedis. I sent him about 3 or 4 times before I realized that the guy is actually playing smart on me.
Wow.
So when I called him later on and told him that, you say the animals are in Kumasi, I have a brother in Kumasi, call this number, he'll come and collect the animals and bring them. Until today, I haven't heard from him again.
I'm sure they were digital animals.
Nobody will tell you he's not a Muslim.
Wow.
You understand? He speaks the Hausa, he's dressed in an Islamic outfit. And this has discouraged me from even helping sincere people who need help.
Sheikh, we will come back to you.
The aspect of Islam is actually prohibited unless in a critical situation, and that is why Islam encourages giving. Islam encourages zakat. Islam encourages sadaqah, that is charity, giving alms, and helping the poor and the needy. So if you actually need help, you go through these particular institutions that Islam have mandated them to provide financial aid to people, and they will investigate your situation. If it is really true that you need the help, they will give you. But if not, then you realize that, you see, somebody came to our Sankregua here in our mosque to beg. The next day, we saw him in another mosque. About 3 days, somebody called us that he has seen the same person who came here begging for, with the same story. That his child is sick, is what. He narrated some story. And he has been running from mosque to mosque, asking for help with the same story. So these people have actually made it their job. They don't want to work. And so I think that the Muslim communities cannot change these people. But what they can do is actually report them to the authorities so that they investigate them. If it is actually their job is to be begging around, then the law has to deal with them.
All right, Sheikh, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you on it, because we want to also elevate it beyond the begging to if the religious group, the Muslim groups that we have, also have a responsibility to help its members get jobs. Because yes, there are those who are not begging, but there are quite a number of youth in our zongos who are without jobs, and they are finding hard to go by. So they just hand to mouth here and there. You ask them, well, we don't have a job. They're just doing menial jobs there. If there's a responsibility, because like Agyepong is saying that, well, we should talk about groups like yours building factories. Is this something that you think, yes, you should be encouraged to do? But let's come to Prophet. I say we've got Prophet on the line.
Moses Bennison. Prophet Moses is the founder and leader of Family Altar Ministries. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Lady Esidwa and my brother. I hope everything is good.
Yes, please. Thanks for joining us this morning. We wish you were in studio, and same as Sheikh. We wish both of you were in studio.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheikh. It's good to see your face again.
Yeah, it's been a long while. Nice meeting you once again.
Yeah. So Prophet, let's start the conversation on the factories and job bit with you. All right. That is the core. But maybe just before that, let's get your thoughts on the project that the Church of Pentecost embarked on, the construction of the prison. Some say that, well, they shouldn't, it should be building something else other than prison, because with the notion that, well, are you encouraging people to go to prison? Well, what's your brief take on that?
Thank you for the question and the opportunity to also share my view. I will say about 3 things. The first thing is that we must not lose sight of the main assignment and mission of the church is to win souls, prepare them for heaven. But the church also is concerned about how people will live a successful and a fulfilled life here on earth before they go to heaven. There are a lot of arguments for and against. There are people who say that the church should rather invest money in preventive measures. So build factories, build hospitals, build academic institutions, build training centers. When you do so, you will help the people from not committing crime, so they will end up in prison. Because when you build prison, you are encouraging crime. You are encouraging people to commit crime because they have comfortable prison that is waiting for them.
Right.
But what we are not understanding is that the work of the church is not just preventive, it is also redemptive. Preventive helps the church to nurture people with values that they don't get themselves into a situation of going to prison in the first place. But what about if it has already happened? Because the redemptive nature of the calling of the church is what inspires the building of the prison.
Okay.
The first argument, if we go by that argument, it simply means that we are trying to state that everybody who is in prison, they are in prison because they have committed one crime or the other.
Right.
I can say boldly that there are people in prison who are virtually innocent. They are not there because they've committed any crime. They are there, they are innocent, but they found themselves in an unfortunate situation. I have been to prison several times. The prisons that we have in Ghana, they are congested. The prisons are built for 800 people. There are over 3,000. In Sawan prison was built for just 800 people. Yeah. But there are over 3,500 people congested in that place. So the Church of Pentecost is saying that, you see, our mandate is not where saints are. Our mandate is where sinners are. So if you have sinners in prison, we are interested in them.
I like that.
Yeah, we are interested in them because that is the calling of the church. The church is not a place for saints, it's a place for sinners. So therefore, we are interested in that. And as you do, in fact, the aim of a prison is not punishment.
Okay.
It's formation. But our prisons have turned into punishment.
Yeah. That's true.
So we have forgotten about the reformative aspect of prison life. The reason why prisons came up is because they said, fine, this person has a problem, a character flaw. So let's put him at a place so that we can help the person to reform. That is why we have prisons. Prison is a place of reformation. So when you go to prison, you are coming out of prison, you come out as a better person, not a worse person. But the kind of prisons we have now, I can tell you that when people are coming out of prison, they are worse off than they went. So someone is a criminal, is a thief, goes to prison, comes out a criminal. Someone is a criminal, goes to prison, come out as a hardened criminal. You see, I got to know, one of the time when I went to preach at the prisons, one of the young men was asking me for money. So I asked him, so how do you survive?
Yeah.
He said he has to confess to me that most of the Momo crimes, they commit them.
What? What?
Yes. Most of the Momo crime, they will call you, change their voice like a lady. He said they are behind most of them.
And this is in the prison where, like you mentioned, they are supposed to be reformed, to become better people. And while there, they are also finding other means to continue to engage in criminalities.
Yes. Because they have to survive.
All because the state of living there is not good.
Yes.
So like you rightly said, they have to survive.
Wow. This is really interesting. And of course, if you're just joining us, we are having a bigger conversation about the role of religious bodies when it comes to job creation, okay? When it comes to job creation. And again, this conversation has come up following comment by Kennedy Agyepong that the churches should also be building factories. They've built, in fact, when he made the statement, Archbishop Agyepong was there, and he mentioned that he has built enough churches. There are so many churches he's built, over 1,000 of churches he's built, so now he should start building factories. And we are exploring that. The religious bodies, Ahmadiyya group, all these groups, should they really get into the business of building factories so they can provide jobs for the people, for their members? Then also the conversation heightened following the commissioning of this project, which you can see on your screen now, the prison that has been built by the Church of Pentecost in Damango, very nice facility, and some are saying, well, the church should not be building prison. They should be building something else. They should build factories, jobs, not prison. Why should they be building prison for people to go there? I mean, those who go there are those who commit crime, and the church rather should be focused on preventing crime. So that's why we are having this conversation, so that we can explore all these things. the role of our religious bodies? Do you think they should do more than they are currently doing? Okay. Now, let me come to you now, Sheikh. Let me come to you now, Sheikh, on the question of jobs, on the question of factories. Do you concede that the Ahmadiyya group and the various other sects that we have should take upon themselves the responsibility of building factories, creating businesses so that they can employ their members? Because you can agree to a very large extent that unemployment is a major issue, and there are a number of your members who need jobs. And Ken is saying you should help your members to get jobs.
Okay. The argument we are putting forward is making it look as if the religious organizations have done nothing in terms of job creation. They have done immensely well. Look at education. The number of schools that have been constructed across the country, both Muslim schools and Christian schools, are creating jobs for a lot of people, irrespective of the church you belong or whatever. When we come to health, there are a lot of health facilities in the country belonging to the religious organizations. And all these places are places for job creation. Number 3, when we come to poverty alleviation, there are churches that provide loans to their members. There are churches that provide job opportunities for people. I need a job here. I want you to link me up. And you get some of the churches who will link you up to the police, the immigration, the military, and other agencies where there is job opportunities. Religious bodies provide job for their people. When we come to peace and security, when we come to conflict resolution, mediation of issues, the churches and the mosques have been doing a lot well in the country. But if, for instance, this prison that has been constructed, if it is going to employ or is going to house about 10,000 or 20,000 inmates, it means that we need equally a huge number of people to go and work there, and that's also going to create job for them. So if we make it look like, for instance, I'm opening Momo as a church or as a mosque, I'm opening, for instance, oil or rubber factory or whatever factory, is the only means of creating job for the people as a church or as the mosque, then the argument is dead on arrival.
So Sheikh, that's a very profound point. So the church, the mosques are creating jobs, except that the jobs they are creating is not, maybe they are building factories, etc. But the schools they are building, the hospitals they are building, the prisons they are building are all avenues of job creation.
And you see, we are thinking that if people go to the prison, it's because they don't have job, or it's because they are sinners or whatever. When you go to the prison, do you see intellectuals also there? Do we see politicians who have also been to prison? They are having jobs, all right. But because of corruption and other cases, they are also there. You create your small business, you want somebody to come and manage it for you, and the person will just come and destroy everything for you. And it doesn't mean you have not given the person job, but because of greediness, the person will end up in prison. So if we make it look like if people are not having job, that is the reason why they will go and commit crimes, and the crimes will take them to prison. The argument is that most people who are gainfully employed are also misbehaving in their companies or wherever they are working, and they've been taken to prison for that. Number 2, we should also understand that following crime checks and other dignitaries, you realize that a lot of people are also in the prison, like Pastor said, or Reverend has said, they are just innocent. When you look at Kwame Nkrumah, when you look at Lumumba, when you look at Mugabe, when you look at Nelson Mandela, when you look at even John Rawlings in Ghana here, we realize that most of these African leaders, they went to prison just because of politics, not because they've committed any crime. And so if you find yourself today, unfortunately, you find yourself, you are a pastor, you are a head of organization, you are a CEO, and you find yourself in a prison where about 800 people supposed to live, but unfortunately, more than 3,000 people are living there. How is your situation going to be?
Interesting. Let's bring in
a political leader or a figure, or maybe a prominent person in the society. And unfortunately, you get yourself there. I listened to a particular man in the US. He said he was sent to prison for 36 years. And after that, DNA brought him back. He was accused of raping. And after a particular group like the crime check in Ghana here, they went and investigated his issue. And later, they compared his fingerprint to the fingerprint they took from the ground after the crime was committed. They realized that he wasn't the person who committed that crime because he wasn't even there at that moment. But they had to imprison somebody, so he was a victim. Just in Ghana here, there was a man who was sent to prison for 20 years. Do you know his crime? He woke up early in the morning, and then he was to perform ablution. And all of a sudden, the police came to pick him. Not knowing that there has been a robbery case in the community.
Wow.
So the police were around waiting for people to arrest. So he just came out to pray early in the morning like Muslims praying at dawn, and they arrested him. When they took him to the police station, the police station got congested. So they had to remove some of them in someone without trial.
Wow.
And he was there for more than 20 years. One of the Muslim leaders, my lecturer who was at Islamic University, he went to visit the prisoners to preach to them, and the guy called him from far. So when the guy called him, he asked him, why have you ended up here? And he told him that this is my situation. I was just performing ablution and they arrested me. I was taken to the cells. I was there, my family members were running up and down. The place got congested because they were still arresting people. And those of us who have been there for a long time, we were taken to Islam without trial.
Interesting.
And then they followed him to the police station, not knowing that the police commander who was handling that particular case has even died about 10 years ago.
Oh my God!
They had to follow the case. They had to follow the case to Water region, where the wife was still alive. They went and checked and removed his docket, brought the docket back to the police station before they were able to release this man.
After 20 years.
So there are people who are
when he was taken back home, children who were not born are now 20 years. They couldn't even recognize him.
So fundamentally,
they lost hope.
So fundamentally, there are people in prison who clearly are not there because they committed a crime. And so the argument that, maybe unemployment prompted them to engage in a certain crime, so provide job and prevent them from going to prison, sort of providing prison. Well, there are people who are in prison not because they were unemployed, but because circumstances just, brought them there. That's a very fundamental point. That's a very profound one, Sheikh.
Number two, you have to realize that you have to get separate prisons. You cannot take an armed robber or, for instance, a murderer, and you mix them up with somebody who just went and stole some tomatoes or plantain in the market. At the end of the day, they will train one another to be more hardened, like the Reverend was saying. So if we have a lot of prisons, we can now separate all these people so that we know that, oh, these are minor crimes prison, these are criminal crime prison, this is whatever, this is what. So that people who go there as innocent people will not go there to learn bad things from the prison, like smoking, like gambling, like a whole lot of horrible things happen in the prisons there.
All right, let's bring in Prophet in now. I said let's bring in Prophet in on this one. Prophet, I'm not sure if you have your own story to share as far as how you help your church members to get jobs, or do you have a factory yourself where you are employing people? Because that's the call on, on your group by Ken Agyepong for you to do that. Build factories, and a section of Ghanaians are saying they want jobs, so the church should also help to provide jobs.
Thank you for that question. You see, like I said before, the primary mission of the church is to reconcile man to God through the gospel of Jesus Christ. Matthew 28, verse 19 to 20 says, go and make disciples of all nations. However, the church's mission is not only spiritual, it is also what we call holistic. So Jesus didn't only save souls, he fed the hungry, he healed the sick, and lifted the broken. He said in Luke 4:18 that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to the captives. So the real question isn't whether to build factories or prisons, but which of these best advances the kingdom's holistic mission: salvation, restoration, and transformation. Okay?
Yeah.
I believe that Honorable Kennedy Agyepong's call is in the right direction, but we can't generalize it that let the churches, because it's not every church that can open factories. First and foremost, the church itself is an employment center. I have a small church in East Legon. Yeah. There are 20 people on our salary. 20 people, we pay salary every month. Yeah. There is a cleaner, there's a security, there are people who play the instrument, there are people who sing, there are people who play counseling roles. We pay them every month. We are responsible for giving them appreciable amount of money for rent. So the church itself is an employment center as well. Number two, I have seen that a lot of churches, I for instance, we opened a business, employed people to be marketing executives. And I can tell you that for 6 months, they didn't bring one client, but they get their salary. After 6 months, they needed salary increase. A lot of churches try to establish businesses for the members, but because it is church, they took it for granted. And they know that you're not going to rate them according to their level of productivity. You are just going to rate them because this is a job created by our church.
But Prophet,
employment by all means.
Prof, is it the church's responsibility in any way? Is the church responsible for the members when it comes to job creation? Is it the church's responsibility that if you're calling on people to come and help develop God's kingdom or contribute to the work of God in any way, you should expect to be given an amount of money at the end of the month or be appreciated for the work that you're putting into what you're doing?
There are people who can afford to volunteer. I also believe that the Bible says that the worker is worth his wages. And so if someone is a professional instrumentalist, trained for it, and is willing to sacrifice his time, work for God, I believe that person should be appreciated so that he will do more.
Okay.
There are people that are working for the church and they don't think anything. Why? Because they have other source of employment as well. Okay. So there is that aspect. So the church, what I believe the church does most is to train people, equip people, raise people, prepare them for the journey of embarking on a profitable venture.
Okay.
So we have helped people to establish. What we do is that we will help you, the member, to establish your business idea and train you so you can run it. Because if we are not careful, the church will be distracted from its core mandate,
which is winning souls.
Business has killed people.
Yeah.
Business is not an easy venture. Business takes a lot to run. So it's not every church that can do that. I'll give you some examples. We know that some of financial institutions that had heavy representation of pastors at the end of the day didn't do well. Well, at the end of the day, most of them were collapsed. The reason is that sometimes balancing ministry with business is not easy. And so I advise people that help the members to discover their potentials, their talent, and then educate them as to how to package their business idea, how to market it, and then how to establish it so they can be productive in their own ways. But not necessarily every church should open a factory and a business, because it takes so much. Government is not able to run factories. A lot of the factories that government established
abandoned and all that.
Church. So I would say that we should help our members. And then number two, look, the Church of Pentecost have some of the powerful entrepreneurs. So what the church does is that it invests in those people. Somebody like Tobinko, he is in Church of Pentecost. The church support him every way possible so that his business will do well. And the number of people he has employed, so he's a product of the church. He testifies every time that he's a product of the church. He has employed many people from the church. We should encourage more people to embark on entrepreneurial journey, and the church back them, support them, and sometimes even give them some amount of money to establish. That I believe, but I don't believe that every church can establish a business venture.
I think that's very profound, especially the point about the churches helping its members with seed money to start business. That's something that I'm very familiar with. I know a number of churches that do that. I know a church, one of the churches, which actually set up a whole provision shop for a woman. A whole provision shop. I know churches that have given people money to start one business or the other. And a number of churches are doing that. So Prophet makes a very, very profound point also that, look, the church might not be able to take up the responsibility of running a whole factory, maize factory, cassava factory, because it's a lot of work. They have a lot of other things to do. So what they are focusing on is training. They can call people to come and teach you how to do soap, how to make dresses and all of that, but they might not be able to establish.
And you know, with what you said in relation to the statement that Kennedy Agyepong made, you know, that, Archbishop Charles Ejina, has built a lot of churches, so he should start, exactly. Prophet Bennison had highlighted something that these churches, when you build them, you're creating more job opportunities for the church members, aren't you? A typical example is he himself, where he has over 20 workers in his church that are salaried workers. So every month, although his church is not a big one, so they building churches is equally creating jobs
I think
for people.
that is a very brilliant one. Also.
It is.
The 1,000 churches that have been built by Archbishop, in every church, you can count at least a maximum of 10 people who have been employed there.
Yes.
You have the sound guys, you have the cleaners, you have this, you have accountants. It's really true. It's a very it's something that we lose sight of, but it's also true. Even Sheikh. So let's just get some final comments from you on this very subject, then we'll call it a day. Sheikh.
Okay, thank you very much. Every church or every Muslim leader, like the National Chief Imam, the Shia National Imam, the Ahmadiyya Amir, or the Tijaniya group, or the Al-Sunnah Muslim leader. If you want to establish a business, you must put it at the back of your mind that you will be able to prosecute people who mismanage certain positions they've been given. And when you begin to prosecute these people, the church will rise, or the mosque, or the Muslims, or the congregation will rise against you. Let's say you put somebody in a position and he has embezzled funds, and you need to arrest this person, take the person to court, take the person to prison for his crimes, and the church members will be okay that the person should go through suffering, when they believe that the church is rather in to help, but not to prosecute. And so it will be very difficult for any church organization to open up. You know, the churches, they have the capability to open up the factories. But considering the factors around, it's very difficult that they can enter into that sector. Because if you do, the probability of getting people who will come and mess up over there, and if you allow them to mess up, they'll destroy or collapse the business. So if there are other ways within which they will invest, like the Muslim community, for instance, they have actually trained a lot of people, giving them scholarship for further studies, help them enter into various sections of the community where they are gainfully employed. And so if we lose sight of what the religious leaders or the religious community is doing for the country, and we make it look like if you don't construct a factory, it means you've done nothing in terms of employment, then you're making a mistake.
Right.
There are a lot of places where the church has contributed to making sure that its members have businesses that they are running. And since it is a private business, if you go there, you are going to make sure you behave yourself. If you establish, let's say, the Muslim community, you establish a transport business, you get somebody who will enter the car, he will tell you he's paying his fees or his taxes or his tithes, as the churches will say, and so therefore he will not pay for the transportation because they bought the car. You get this confrontation, you get this argument here and there. And so the church or the religious leaders make sure that they venture into places where they feel like their effort will rather yield positive results instead of creating conflict and misunderstanding among the religious bodies.
All right, Sheikh, thank you very much.
And so
yeah, Sheikh
we
Land.
thank the comments made by Honorable
Kennedy Agyepong,
the honorable member for saying that the churches should contribute in building factories and other things. However, he should also bear in mind that the churches, if they should take away their contribution in terms of economic empowerment from the country will collapse totally.
All right, thank you very much, Sheikh. Prophets, final comments.
So I would say that every church should make available seed money for their members so that those who want to embark on business ventures, they can support them. The final thing I would say is that every church should be discerning the project that best suits them. They should embark on it. Finally, I would say that it is not for others to tell the church what to do. It is for the church to pray and discern what is in the utmost interest of its people. At the end of the day, the church must love its people and be willing to invest in their productivity.
Well, that's it.
I love all the submissions from both Sheikh Pastor and Prophet Moses Bennison. Thank you so much for your contributions this morning.